this time I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Rebecca Sauter. Ms. Sauter is the founder and director of Project Reentry, a prison reentry program administered by the Criminal Justice Department of Northwest Cape Council of Governments in Winston-Salem. Ms. Sauter is certified as an offender workforce development specialist by the National Institute of Corrections and is registered as a global career development facilitator. In 2003, Mrs. Sauter was awarded a Governor's Crime Commission grant to launch the operation phase of Project Reentry through a blended pre- and post-release service delivery strategy. In 2006, Project Reentry was recognized as one of 3 exemplary reentry programs in the nation by the American Correctional Association and was nationally recognized as one of 15 programs cited as best practice in a report compiled by the U.S. Department of Justice and the Urban Institute titled Prisoner Reentry and Community Policing Strategies for Enhancing Public Safety. Please welcome Ms. Rebecca Sauter for Project Reentry.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank Attorney General Cooper and Secretary Keller for having me here today and having Project Reentry here today. It's truly an honor. We've been doing this work for about 11 years now, and this is an honor. I want to be able to start off the presentation by showing a video where it highlights the program from our participants' point of view. Then I'll do a brief presentation, and then I have a few guests that I would like to introduce. Project Reentry is a community-based prisoner reentry initiative. Something I want to draw your attention to, but I will discuss later, is if you see at the bottom, the Project Reentry is made possible by many different entities. We have Northwest Piedmont Council of Governments, we have Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina, the City of High Point, and Tri-County Industries. That will be an important point later on, and I believe this is information that is in your packets. So if you wanted to, I don't know if you have them, but resort to the PowerPoint handouts. There we go. What we did is we wanted to put this in perspective, from a national perspective to a state perspective, and then actually to a county-by-county perspective of what prisoner reentry is. The statistical perspective of reentry and of transition in North Carolina specifically is in the calendar year of 2008. You can see there was nearly 30,000 individuals that were released and nearly 29,000 individuals that were incarcerated. That's less than about 1,500 individuals. So that's your revolving door. There's about as many people going out as coming in. The concern we have is the 52%, the readmissions. Some of them are revocations, people who are on parole or probation and they do not comply. But you're also talking about new crimes, which means new victims. And that is a very serious community safety issue. Another number I want to bring to your attention is the 82% that are released that are unsupervised. And I bring that to your attention because we're very unique in North Carolina. Other states, you hear about reentry programs. I believe Kansas has one, Maryland has one, these great reentry programs. But the thing is, in those states, the majority come out under supervision. So those programs are administered by the Department of Correction because those individuals are still under their jurisdiction. In North Carolina, we're completely opposite. This is where Department of Correction is asking the community, help us with this transition effort, because we can't. It's not that we don't want to, we can't. So from a human perspective, what's been happening, and we heard it in the earlier presentation, is there's a disconnect between the inside and the outside. You have Department of Correction doing their own thing, and then you have the community doing theirs. But there isn't a connection. What builds this partnership? Now, in the Department of Corrections, they have wonderful programs administered by the community college and other volunteers that offer life skills, that offer treatment, work assignments, vocational training. You get your certificate, and a whole bunch of different things, and educational assignments. But again, the issue was, if you have all this training, what do you do with it? Where do you apply it? And how do you apply it? And that's where Project Reentry comes in, is we actually connect the inside to the outside. And our mission statement basically just simply says, we all need to come together, and for the community safety, for the reduction of criminal justice costs, and to improve the reintegration of the individuals coming home, we all have to unite and figure out how can we do this together. Because quite honestly, in the work that I've been doing for so long, when you feel like you're the only one that is helping an individual such as an ex-offender and all the needs they have, it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. There is no one entity that can take all of that on, but a partnership can. In 2001, Project Reentry originated as a community DOC partnership. It was a result of a 3-month training that myself and 4 other colleagues from the state of North Carolina represented in St. Louis. And again, it was about how can the inside and the outside work together. What happened is after that 2001 training, we were charged with putting together an action plan. And it involved Division of Prisons, case management staff, and community. And what we found is we didn't have our act together. So it's not like the ex-offender's the only one that needed to kind of figure out what's going on. So did we. We all sit in the same meetings, but nobody really knew what each other did. So as a community, I worked at the Workforce Development Department for the city of Winston-Salem at the time. So I was a member of JobLink. So instead of reinventing the wheel, I just went to JobLink and said, I'm a member of JobLink. Any other frontline staff work with ex-offenders? Everybody raised their hand. I'm like, does anybody want to talk about it? Because it's exhausting. Everybody raised their hand. It was standing room only. And we met twice a month for 6 months. Now that's a lot of meetings, especially for frontline staff, but we had to. And the thing is, what also the disconnect, it was our attitude about Department of Correction and correction not knowing us. Because the messenger is the ex-offender. So when an ex-offender comes to me for services in the community and says, yeah, DOC didn't give me anything, I'm like, that's awful. They are awful there. And in DOC, our resources change so much. How on earth can they keep track of that? So the Governor's Crime Commission gave us some funding to actually officially launch the one, and it remains the only pre to post-release community-based program in the state of North Carolina. And what does it look like? That's literally how it looks like. This is what it looks like, as we all come together. And you can see the different resources. I'm not going to itemize them all, but you will see that we have some of the key resources that ex-offenders and their families go to for assistance. We have Employment Security Commission, we have the JobLink, we have local law enforcement, workforce development, public transportation. We can continue on with uniting efforts with community corrections, employers, ex-offenders, community college system, Project Safe Neighborhoods. We're going to talk a little bit about that towards the end. That's a very key partner because reentry doesn't operate in a silo by itself. It very much involves law enforcement, and we will bring examples of that later on in this presentation. Pre to post-release programming, that's the key. I've heard that a lot this morning. What can individuals do while they're still in to help them come out better? Individuals who have up to 18 months are asked to join Project Reentry. The Division of Prisons identifies those individuals. And like the video said, they come to the first session, they make their choice. The choice is, I am going to take responsibility in my life and go home on my terms, or if not, don't attend, because honestly, we've got good work going on. We wish you the best of luck, but don't come back, because we've got to move forward. And it's a decision, and there's a choice, and there's a consequence. Period. Nobody's doing anything to you. You're making that decision yourself. Another key point is immediate engagement upon release. Individuals who successfully complete our program are seen within 24 hours of the next business day. There's no wiggle room. We're going to continue to move this thing forward. There's not going to have a party or go for a week or two and then you'll see that it doesn't work that way. We just got to keep the ball rolling. They continue case management for at least a year. I do have to digress and let you know that on Friday I spoke to an individual who was part of our pre-release groups in July of 2003 when we first started. And he called me, I haven't talked to him in about 3 years, and he called me on Friday to let me know that he's got equipment now to start his own bakery. Those were goals he and I shared through 2003. And it's extraordinary, but he just wanted to let me know. And I'm going to talk to him tomorrow about it because he says he has more he needs to talk to me about because he wants to plan. Participants mentor each other. And that is the responsibility we put on each and every one of our participants. If you come out, if you mess up, you're not messing up for just yourself. You're messing up for every single person behind you. And if you're frustrated that the community doesn't seem to be accepting you come in, that means somebody messed up ahead of you. And now you know what it feels like. So it is your responsibility to turn that attitude around. Community outreach. Again, these are slides of our groups inside. We have community resources go in. I am not social services. I cannot sit there and explain why if you have a drug conviction of a certain year that you cannot get food stamps, but somebody who has committed murder can. Now, a lot of people are like, what? And there's a lot of people in our classes that are like, that's not fair. Okay, it may not be fair, but that's the law. So what are you going to do about it? So when food stamps come in and they say, no, unfortunately, we will not be able to serve you. However, what's your plan B? Where are the food pantries in your community? So you don't even waste your time going to DSS and getting so upset, because I'm telling you right now, they can't. It's not like they won't serve you. They can't. So what's your plan B? And we do that with vocational rehabilitation comes in. I'm sure a lot of you know about that infamous letter that's been going around for about 20 years, where they say basically if you committed a felon, the world is, VR is your oyster. And you can get money from them immediately, and a lot of men and women plan their lives around that. And it's only when they get out they realize it's all a lie. And the thing is, if we planned out our lives on something that ends up being a lie, what would we do? And that is and also when you do the community outreach, we're stressing, work your time. Work the programs that are in the Department of Correction. They're there, they're available. Work it. Education, networking. When individuals come into the prison system, talk to them. Learn how to ask for help. How am I eligible for vocational rehabilitation? You ask the questions. I'm not going to tell you. You ask it. If you want to know, can you go back to school if you have a felony conviction? Is there any funding available? You need to ask that question, because there is. But the other key is what a lot of us saying, I don't mean to make it sound harsh, but there are no pity parties. If somebody says, well, I just can't because of my criminal record, and I can't do this and I can't do that, we don't buy into that. Because quite honestly, every single person in this room has had something they have got to get over, or they're still dealing with that. But you're moving ahead from it. You have to learn where in your life to put it, to manage it so you may move forward. We all have to do it. Just so happens these individuals have criminal records. Maybe you come from a violent home. Maybe you come from being in a domestic abusive relationship, whatever the case may be. But what are you going to do about it so you can succeed, so you can go forward despite rather than because? Also, do not work the system. You will never win. You will never win. That's why you're incarcerated. So if you owe the parole of probation, don't get angry that parole of probation is in your life. You put them in your life. You put them in your life. So how are you going to comply to get them out of your life? Don't work against it. The same thing with child enforcement services. They come in and they literally say, I'm child support enforcement services. If you come to me and let me know that you're part of Project Reentry, I will back off. Because I know the expectation of that program, and you as a successful graduate is you will be employed within 30 days and then can take care of your responsibility. And what happens is the individuals go to these resources they used to run away from and be like, you know what, if I actually work with them, I don't have to keep running. I don't have to keep hiding. The single portal of entry, when individuals are released between 24 hours of the next business day, they have one person to go, one place to go. And that is to people they already know. Trust was a factor. Somebody said today, trust is important for all of us. I mean, whenever you go someplace and you have to spill your beans in order to get assistance, I don't like doing it. But this isn't somebody coming home for the first time and we're meeting. This is a reunion. It is a beautiful thing when individuals come home in street clothes. And instead of starting, we're like, okay, now where do we go from here? They started inside. And these are the various assistance that they can receive through us. This is an individual, Raynard, who's going to speak on behalf of a pre-release perspective. Participation rate in our pilot facility for Sauter Correctional within the first 2 years increased 400%. Inmates now are asking to be transferred to the 14 facilities that we're in because they want it. There's something there, and that what's there is the fact that we have earned their trust, that when they come home, we're there and they've earned it and they're a part of this process. Now, Reynard, he was in for 33 years. And I'll tell you what, I can barely remember 33 years ago. But I will tell you what, is this a success story? Absolutely. Is he doing okay today? No. To be honest with you, he's not doing okay today. He has relapsed, but he has stayed connected to us, and we have helped him through that. His wife stuck with him for 33 years. They are no longer married. How does a man handle that when they have, these kind of things? He went to his granddaughter's high school graduation, but never attended his own daughter's. He was interviewed by the paper and asked, what was the most significant difference when you came home? And he said how cold everybody has become. 1973, people were a lot more friendly, because coming out of the 60s, they're still hanging on there, than they are today. But he's going to be okay because he's staying connected. He's staying with us. Ex-offenders are not the only ones that are going through transition. That is why this task force has been developed. That's why we have so many people in the community that are interested in being part of it, because it's got to be more than that. The paradigm shift is on all fronts. The Department of Corrections, the community, employers, ex-offenders, all of us have got to see things differently. We've got to open up, back up, and see the bigger picture. For instance, with the Department of Corrections, they have established an Office of Transition Services strictly to work with reentry and transition issues. They're reviewing their internal program. What's working, what's not, how can we make it work? And they're modifying their case management approach because the need is there and they're answering that need. Now, the community at large is to replace the ignorance with information. And I don't mean ignorance in a negative way, but if you don't know, you don't know. If you're not educated, how are you supposed to know? Stereotyping versus reality. You need to engage the community. Have them involved in what this is. And I will tell you why. Again, it's because of structured sentencing. The majority are coming out with no type of supervision. When I show this map, and to let you know, in your handouts, you have this map and it broken down into regions so you can see your specific county. People all of a sudden, they're like, excuse me, don't they always have that person they see? I'm like, no. And the community begins to listen more because now they realize they need to be aware of this. What goes on inside? When individuals, who's coming home? Okay, who is coming home? It's not the people you see on Oz or Prison Break or Maximum Lockup. That's that new show where people are setting fire to their own bedding and they're throwing chairs. But the thing is, if the community doesn't know anything else, all they know is it's those people that are coming home. The people who just threw the chair are the ones coming home, and they're not. Reynard is an individual that's coming home. In 1973, see that big old cell phone? Can you believe that? That's when the first cell phone call was made, when Reynard went inside. Reynard today, the only way we can reach him is on his cell phone. Bless his heart, it took him a long time to learn it, almost as long as me. Things to keep in mind, you don't have choices inside. And if you come out and you're not given the transition of accepting, getting comfortable with choices, you immediately go to a job link or you go anyways, okay, what do you need? Do you have this? Do you have that? I don't know. It's very, very overwhelming. Technology. We are so technology focused that one of my participants corrected me, and I'm thankful that he did because I didn't realize this, is when I worked in the job link, I'm like, Tim, he gave a job posting. I'm like, well, just go to that link on the bottom and then see what the job's about and see where it is. He's like, Ms. Sauter, you got to stop. Because I've been in for 21 years. I don't know what a link is. And that made me, so I was like, wow. Now, but is that same Tim going to go to the person at the job link and say, oh, by the way, I don't know what a link is? Without feeling, where have you been, under a rock, since technology? But yes, the pace of life is so much quicker now. It is so much quicker. It's fast for us, and we've been here. It's so quick. It's so intimidating. It's scary. The scariest place to go for an individual coming out is the mall. Too much noise, too many people too close, everybody's moving too fast. It's like, hold on, because you know what? And I was told this by Tim, very clever man, says, well, there's no holidays in prison. Where are you going to go? Where, you in a hurry? What, to make a lap around the yard? So you go slow. Everything is slow. And then when you slam and you're immediately placed in all of this chaos, as we heard from this morning, it is incredibly overwhelming. Employers, to recognize the individuals that we work with have skills. They have abilities that they are looking for. This is a viable labor pool. And we never ever say to an employer, please give this person a chance. I am not going to ask an employer to put their livelihood on the line to give a chance. Rather than, I'd like you to meet somebody who has earned my recommendation for your consideration. Will you just interview? I'm not going to press up on the employer. Everybody's pressing up on employers these days. We are a business, and business to a business is what do you need and how can we provide it to you, period. And these individuals are getting employed on their own. What they're finding that if somebody will work for 70 cents a day, minimum wage doesn't seem too bad. Here we have employers' perspective. Here's just some statements both employers say. What I'm most proud about is not necessarily what they say, but the fact that we can use their name and who they are on our marketing material. If you have employers that say, yes, I know you're a prisoner reentry transition program, yes, you may put my information on your marketing material. That is a huge endorsement and a huge support. Ultimately, though, the ex-offender is responsible. This cannot be successful without that, and the gentleman this morning, Mr. Battle, said it has to start with that person. They have got to take that responsibility. They have to take it on. No one can do for you. You need to do for yourself. We just help God. Now, how do we do this? Partnership, collaboration, and communication. Those are all big words that we've used over and over again. But I got to tell you, they're a struggle to do. With all of us, we all have so much going on and so many expectations of who we are employed by that it's hard to just simply partner. But you can be creative about it, and it can be a win-win for everybody. For instance, I can't go and just drain one funding source to fund Project Reentry. It doesn't work that way. Governor's Crime Commission told me that. Unfortunately. So what we did is Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina supports this program because what they see is our employment rate is extraordinary for individuals coming out of incarceration. And they wanted to be a part of it because they also provide training. They're a huge partner. But how was this created? What they did, they said, you know what, I want to support your program not only verbally, but I will pay staff to work for Project Reentry. So I have staff members of mine that are not Project Reentry staff people under Northwest Piedmont Council government. They're Goodwill employees that work for Project Reentry. City of High Point works for Project Reentry, but they fund that position. Tri-Counties, our newest ones on the eastern coast, they got funding to do Project Reentry. We're trying to be creative here because the need's not going to go away, and we don't want to go away either. Winston-Salem Transit Authority, what we did is we simply asked them, would you please donate bus passes? Initially, they didn't want to, but when we explained the business perspective of allowing these bus passes to be donated and how that can increase their ridership, they now donate bus passes. Replicating the model throughout the state. I just identified some of our newest partners in doing that. The success rate, again, we're trying to get the numbers as close as possible to current, so we went ahead and just did 2009. Here you can see who we've served just in 2009 in pre-release, pre to post, and then post only. Case management, 100%, that obviously that is our biggest work that we do. As we heard this morning, you got to have somebody there, not necessarily to hold you, but to be there as a sounding board and to be there for support to continue to have them, help them move forward. Then we have vocational education, employment rate. I really want you to focus on the number of 62% of pre to post release employment. That is the key versus post only is only 45%. Success is realized if you focus on the one factor of employment is realized in greater numbers because they started working on it before they came home. I've gone throughout the presentation, I've told you impacts that we have had, and again, you can read these. I don't want to go through them one by one, but I do want to share and show that this is building alliances between and among organizations and entities that need to be involved in it, but maybe don't know how to be involved in it. And improve community safety and decrease recidivism rate. And again, we're going to talk about Project Safe Neighborhoods, an initiative that they do very shortly. These are the recognitions that we have gotten, and I couldn't be prouder. That because this isn't recognition that the program has gotten, but it also means that our participants have gotten this program in that recognition, because quite honestly, if they were not successful, we would not be successful. Now this is the map that shows you where we are right now. We are in 16 counties and 14 prisons around the state of North Carolina. But I want to share something else with you. If somebody's at Buncombe Correctional and makes the choice to be a part of Project Reentry, but is getting released to Davidson County, we will see that person within 24 hours of the next business day. We just established a statewide database. So all the information that was collected on this individual while they were going through the group inside Buncombe Correctional, we have it, touch of a button. So we start where that left off. We don't start from the beginning. And because that trust factor is there, The individual Jim who facilitates the groups up there said, no, I'm not going to be in Forsyth County, but you will see me in spirit and the other staff there. So when we're introduced, we are continuing a relationship that was established by one of our staff people there, because we're all kind of weird, kind of the same. But this is what it's showing. It's crossing counties, it's crossing regions. We're communicating, we're sharing information, we're getting our stuff together, our act together, to help the ex-offender get their act together. Now the paradigm shift in programming is what we had to recognize. What are we going to do differently? We can't start up another program because we're programmed to death. So what we did is we brought everybody together and said, what do you do? We identified where gaps were, and that's where we went and asked for funding. But we want to keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, especially if what you do is you work with what's already in place. It's not complicated because you're not having to do everything. You let everybody else do what they do, and you just bring it together. So we utilize other expertise. So it's not, we don't have to know everything. We just have to know our little bit, and that's what we contribute to the bigger picture. Unify efforts. Parole and probation does not have to work by themselves. Project Safe Neighborhoods doesn't. Law enforcement doesn't. We all work together. And those we serve are part of the program administration is key. We don't have a population over there that this program serves. That population over there is the program and helps us provide those services. And I want to take a couple of minutes to introduce you to Tanya Foltz, who is a very, very valuable member of the Project Reentry team. And she just wanted to say a few words.
Thank you guys. I'm nervous today and I'm really emotional, so if I start crying, please bear with me. I was in South Carolina Department of Corrections for 3 years. And for me, it was like going to a different planet. Never knew anything but what I saw on television. And I was scared to death. For me, I thought that I was going to die in prison because I never knew anything differently. I had to learn a whole new set of rules. It was a new world for me. One thing is learning how to tie my sheet to the mattress, which was a huge thing for me because I'm like, where's my fitted sheet? And you don't get one. But one of the things that was really the hardest for me was my children. I know we talked a little bit about that this morning because when I was sentenced, they were sentenced also. And it was very difficult for me on how I could help them while I was still inside. I didn't have a lot of contact with them because they were placed with my ex-husband, and because of his issues with me, he stopped all of that contact. So one way that I knew how I could reach them was to write a letter to them every week. I didn't know if they had been sent to the right address, if it was, did they receive it? And that was just one of the very difficult things. My faith is one thing that got me through. And it just tore my heart into pieces to know that they were there and going through some issues because of the choices that I made. And I accept responsibility for all of that, and I wish I could just make everything better for them. It was, as you guys know, reentry has many facets, and one thing I would ask is that you guys would include the children in that reentry process, because they are vital. And as you guys are full aware of, my children are now more at risk to go to prison because I was there. And that's hard. That's hard to deal with. So one thing that I've tried since I've gotten out is to build that bond back with them. But it's been difficult because at every point that I try, I've been stopped. As my ex-husband he's a custodial parent, I've tried to contact case managers. My oldest, who is now 17, has issues of his own. I've tried to contact the probation officer, the case manager, the teachers, social services. I've written letters to more people than you can imagine, made so many phone calls. But my ex-husband has stopped me on every point because he has, in South Carolina, he can say who can release information to, although I am their mother and still have rights. So that's one thing that I've been struggling with. I do have contact with them, I have seen them, and I do talk to them on the phone, and I've tried to do the best that I can with what I have. Some issues and concerns that I have with what's going on in the household now, I'm not sure who I can contact to address those issues. If he doesn't listen to me, and I'm not sure who it is that I can contact. So if you have any ideas, I'm open to any suggestions. It's one idea that I came up with was to have like a guardian ad litem program, to work with the child who is their advocate, who can speak for them, and use whatever knowledge I have about my children to help them. Not saying that every parent needs to have access to their children, because I don't believe that either. There's some parents that don't even need to be around their child. But if you can use me in some way to help the child to either say that they're not to blame for mommy's choices, they're not responsible, that they are great individuals, and they have a lot of potential, just to help them. And if that person, that guardian ad litem, is the middle person, they can look at both sides and help that child. Because I don't want my child to end up where I was at. I don't want anybody to end up where I was at. And I think if we start, or include the children in the whole reentry process, that will make a difference. To start with the inside, to maybe have more visits with them, or open that line of communication. If there is a social worker involved, to maybe have contact with them, to contact me, and to help them with whatever their issues they're going through. Or just to say, hey, I'm here, mommy still loves you, it's to work from the inside to help them. So if anything that I've said that will help the child, that's what I want to do. And as I facilitate the pre-release program at the women's facility in Lexington, that is like the huge issue with a lot of the women we work with. It's, I need to go home and take care of my child, but first we have to take care of ourselves. And that's the first thing I tell them. You have to be right for your right to be with your child. If you're going out and going straight to your child, you have to have that foundation yourself. So let's look at different ways to help the child and not just think of what it is that you want. We have to think about everybody and include everybody in that. So thank you so much.
You did better than you thought you would.
I know, I
You
didn't
didn't
cry.
The next individual I'd like to introduce is a gentleman who went through what I've been referring to as Project Safe Neighborhoods. And that is a national violent reduction program that focuses on individuals who are under supervision and out in the community, brings them in based on the number of points based on their criminal record. What they're doing is trying to target those who have committed the most crimes as those that are going to hear the message that they're going to be called in or notified. And it's a program that started in High Point, and we've been replicating across the state. We do it in Winston-Salem. The message is, if you commit another crime, we are going to give you the most time possible, period. And you can't say we didn't warn you. They are flagged. And this is a middle district effort. So if you do your crime in Guilford County and you want to hide in Winston-Salem, not going to happen, because law enforcement is sharing information. What we have found out, though, that if individuals come out unsupervised but have enough points, they don't hear the message. And you have about over 80% getting out. So what we have done first in the nation is a partnership between Project Safe Neighborhoods, Project Reentry, and the Department of Correction. We're taking that message inside and saying, listen, you need to change your home plans now because law enforcement knows who you are. And it's made a tremendous impact for these individuals to say, okay, well, what can I do? Well, first you go through Project Reentry, and if you successfully complete, you will earn assistance. If you choose not to, understand the consequences. If you get in trouble, it will be recognized you did not take any assistance, and you will be prosecuted accordingly. I'd like to introduce a very, very strong partner of ours, somebody that I'm so grateful actually that can be here today, that can speak on behalf of law enforcement on these kind of initiatives, and that is Chief Cunningham.
Good afternoon. The question becomes, why are we all here? It's not somebody else's problem, it's our problem. No matter what we're doing, no matter where we are, this is our problem. This is our concern. we are dealing with our communities. And that's why I'm here today. What we're focused on is the greater concept of quality of life in a safe community. All of our communities across the state and ultimately across the nation. Law enforcement may not seem to be the most normal partner for Project Reentry, because in many aspects we are certainly a key player in putting a lot of these individuals into the incarcerated status. But the reality of it is like was said, almost everyone is coming out. 95% of the people that go in are going to come out. And they're going to come out and go somewhere. Statistically, the vast majority of them will go back to the communities they came from. Even if you're in a community that the people move away from and don't ever come back, there's other people that are coming out of an institution that came from somewhere that are going to move into our communities. So I believe, and we found a way that helps answer some of the questions that you've asked this morning. Can we have a program that does this? Can we have someone on the inside that acts as an ambassador? Project Reentry has some of this. Can we find a way to deal with transportation? Project Reentry has done some of this. Now, I'm not saying Project Reentry is the answer to everything, because we have a lot of distance to cover yet. But what I am saying is that we have been there. We have a program that works. It works for us. It is enhancing the safety of all of the citizens in Winston-Salem and in Forsyth County and the counties around us. When these individuals come out, they are either going to be successful or they are not. If they are not successful, there is a terrific cost to all of us. The first and most difficult cost is victimization. If they are not successful, that means they have recommitted a crime somewhere along the lines and they are going back into facilities. Our society has failed at that point. Our society is starting to rack the costs again. As a system, we can do a lot of things. We can find the person that broke into the home. We can arrest them. We can get the property back. We can punish them. But the problem is we can never give a victim back their peace of mind. No matter what happens, that victim will always be a victim and always be wondering. So our society continues to suffer if they are unsuccessful. However, if they are successful, that means that our communities are safer. Our citizens enjoy a higher quality of life because they have less fear of crime and less reality of crime. Our community benefits because those that went in don't go in again, don't have cost associated with them, but rather have value associated with them because they are contributing to the overall community and to society. Those are the reasons why law enforcement needs to be involved in these programs. That is why I'm here today, to encourage you to find ways to allow the people that are coming out of all of our institutions to be successful. Yes, they benefit tremendously, but it is not a one-way road. When they are successful, our community is successful, we are successful, we are contributing value across the board. When they are unsuccessful, we all lose. We all lose. Law enforcement resources are consumed, court resources, confinement space. We have the need for growing an additional confinement space. Just think if we were able to reduce just the recidivism rate, 50+% of the people that go into this system every year would not be there. And in many ways, we have a captive audience. This task force, some of the things that we can look at, some of the things that we need to look at and try to do is to utilize that captive audience. Yes, there are motivational factors. Yes, there are a lot of problems. But the difficulty of the road ahead shouldn't decide what course we take. This problem is going to be here one way or another. We have but one choice, really. Are we going to try and make it better, or are we going to live with it as it has been? Your charge as part of this task force is to help us, to help local law enforcement, help our communities, help our citizens find a better way to deal with the issues that we are all facing. Project Reentry is one way that works for us. And yes, we bring people in and we talk with them. And I'm going to bring up an individual in a minute. He was involved in the Project Safe Neighborhoods notification process. And law enforcement is there. And we make our voice loud and clear. These are individuals that are coming out. They are going to rejoin our society. And we make it clear to them. We want them to succeed. If they decide not to participate, if they decide not to be successful, we are going to be strongly all over them. And that message is sent loud and clear. But just as equally loud and forceful, we send the same message with our reentry partners and our other community partners. This is an opportunity for them to turn their life around with our help, for everyone to be successful. And if they do that, just as strongly, we will help them find the ways to do it. This may seem like a strange partnership for law enforcement to be involved in, but law enforcement is about community safety. And law enforcement needs to and has been embracing anything that works. Because when the program works and it makes our community safer, that is what law enforcement should be supporting. That's what Winston-Salem Police Department does, Forsyth County Sheriff's, High Point Police Department, several other police departments support this. And as you're doing with this task force, looking for options to make our communities safer. Project Reentry is one of those that works.
I'd like to open up for any questions. If anybody has any questions at all?
What's your failure rate?
I'm sorry?
You have a failure rate? You track those that come in and be a part, you accept them, they don't make them.
Are you talking about that they go back in, or they just don't
They
comply?
commit another crime.
Okay, so they go back in.
Yeah.
Okay, recidivism, that's the speaking point. 28%. And that's interesting that you asked that, because there's no clear definition of recidivism, and that's one thing I would encourage this task force to look at is, in the state of North Carolina, what are we saying recidivism is? There's no national definition for it. So recidivism, for us, we define it because we do our work in the prison system as if they go back to prison. But wonder if they go back to jail. That's taxpayer money, but is that recidivism? Because if you go to jail but you haven't been convicted yet, you're innocent until proven guilty. So what really is recidivism? But that is our percentage rate right now, and what we did is we took it from the very beginning in 2003 up till December 31st of 2006. The Bureau of Justice Statistics does it in 3-year stints, so we did it 3 years back. So we're very young and very new. We're hoping to be able to show more of an impact, but that is our recidivism rate right now is 28%. Yes?
If Project Reentry were replicated in all of the North Carolina counties, could this task force go away today and have its work accomplished?
Asking me that?
Well, another way to
Absolutely.
another way to ask it is, what are the gaps between what you do and what still needs to be done?
One gap that our program just isn't appropriate for is the jails. is doing some kind of work within the jail system. I do agree with what Mr. Gaddy had mentioned also is alternatives to incarceration. What other gaps? Yes.
Well, I think that my name is Dr. Glenda Clare. I'm with the Durham Prisoner Research Roundtable. One of the things that the literature basically says is that even if you put all of these pieces together, as Mr. Battle said and this young lady said, the family piece is still missing. The family piece needs to be addressed, not just with children, but also with spouses and significant others, plus the people that are taking care of those children. So if you get all these pieces together and people don't have someone to go back to, they're more likely going to try to go back to jail or prison.
This is a good foundation where others can spin off it. But as I understood the Attorney General saying, is that there needs to be a focus. There needs to be something where you're grounded and then you can spin off other related issues. And I do see that as being one. We're in rural counties. We're in more urban counties. We are female facilities. We're in male facilities. And across the board, we're recognizing the success. We're setting this foundation in the communities. And I just want to bring to your attention, none of us go into a community and say, you're going to do it our way. We do not do that. We go into the community and say, what are you all doing? Let's bring it together and help you all identify gaps. And then that's where you all can focus. But honestly, this requires that you have a coordinating entity, because this doesn't fall under anything else. If honestly, in 2003, if I didn't get the Governor's Crime Commission, I would not have a job, or there would be no Project Reentry, because I was with Workforce Development, and it was beyond their mission, their employment and training, and we're everything else. Vocational rehabilitation can't cover it. There is no entity that is established in our state that can cover this. So that's why there needs to be a focus on who is going to be that controlling entity, and then statewide, but then who's going to do it at the local level? Because I'm not going to tell another county how to do their work. So at the local level, they're able to work it how they believe they should do it. But again, it feeds the whole statewide effort. It's all connected. Yes?
Those prisons that you're in, the 12 or so that you're in, if I send someone to prison from New Hanover County in Wilmington, and they're serving out their time at Polk Youth Institute, for instance, way across the state, and one of your people goes in and says, let's do this reentry program, are they considered in your program if they're coming back to our community, where they'll be working with someone like Frankie, who's in the room with me, at Link, or are they going to be having to be released into Winston-Salem in order to avail themselves of these services?
No, we don't have that people have to be of certain counties. We will serve everybody. Where our hands are tied a little bit is I can't guarantee you that you will have us there within 24 hours of the next business day. I will connect you with up-to-date resources that are good resources, because the community is telling me so, and we have the database that can collect that information. But we can't be there to actually say welcome home. But people do not have to be of certain communities. We just make sure they're connected. We see them within 2 weeks of the release to go over their home planning, and the home planning division of prisons has done to make sure all the bases are covered. They can call us at any time. And if they have any issue with any resource, we'll do what we can do best. But my dream and my goal is that we're in every county and every prison, so there is that connection. Yes?
Have you done a survey to see what your cost of service per prisoner is, or per releasee?
Yes. Where we have it, here we go. It's about $1,400 for our program versus the $22,000 for a year of somebody who is incarcerated. We whittled the money down to the penny. Trust me.
And how much of that is private versus public?
We get our funding through the Governor's Crime Commission right now. We get it through Goodwill Industries, City of their Governor's Crime Commission, local foundations, wherever we can get the money. Honestly, it's a mixture.
Do you feel like you said you wanted to be in every county across the state. Do you feel like your program is at a point right now where you've got the capacity to be able to successfully replicate, and how would you go about doing that?
The question is do we have the capacity to do it? Yes, I believe we do have the capacity to do it, because this isn't an isolated capacity. It's the capacity of the community. And what we do in the communities is we need to identify an entity that will be the administrative entity of this program. And what we have done in the past is we focus specifically on counties that have prisons in them. And that, because again, the highest releases obviously are from those prisons are going into those counties. But that administrative entity, what we do is we train them on this statewide model. So everybody learns the exact same thing. Our curriculum inside is the exact same place no matter what facility that you go to. And the resources, we pull them together, we guide them. And what we've done through our expansion is our first year that we assist is very hands-on. Second year we roll out, and then it's completely up to them. They're connected to statewide network through our database and just through this for the rest of their lives, the rest of the life of the program. But we back off and let them operate it themselves. We just go in and give them the knowledge and the structure and then pull out. Yes, and I'll get back to you. Sorry.
Are you using volunteers also within the program?
Yes, actually our volunteer base is very vast. All the individuals that come in to facilitate are volunteers. If their employers or whatever have allowed them to come in, so all of those are volunteers. We have individuals who have been through our program that are volunteers. We have family members that are volunteers. So we have a huge volunteer base that want to go in, and I really want to share something with you that's interesting, is once we're in a community, and Davidson County is a good example of this, we've just now begun our second year in Davidson County. A little bit of resistance at first, still couldn't quite, understand, the whole concept of it. And now our representative, Anita Cherry in Davidson County, literally has people calling her, may I come in? May I come in and help? How can I help? Because this issue touches every single one of us. Brother, sister, mother, father, cousin, somebody you know, all of us. And it's amazing who comes out and says, yes, I want to be a part of it. Something proactive rather than be reactive. Yes?
In your presentation, I saw the rate of job success pre and post as opposed to post. I didn't catch a recidivism rate for folks in your program as opposed to the general population.
What I mentioned before, 28%. Our recidivism rate is 28%. And those are including individuals only up to December 31st of 2006. And then you compare that then. And we did that purposely so that you can compare apples to apples to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, which can cover the state and the nation. I don't know what those numbers are, though, off the top of my head. Does anybody else have any questions? I want to thank you all so much. I believe we've gone over a little bit, and I do apologize. But again, it has been an absolute honor to be able to present to you all today. And thank you for your questions, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.